We start always with one of the questions that's come in advance from our beautiful family joining us from all over the world online through this gift of technology. And then we open it up to anyone here who has any questions. There's a mic right there. So any question that you have, do not feel shy. One of the things that's always so prevalent is people feel like, oh, my question is silly, or my question is stupid, or my question is too personal, or too vague, or too this, or too that. And what I always say is, if it's important to you, ask your question, because that's why you're here. And if it's important to you, chances are, in a really interesting way of how connected we all are, it'll turn out to be important to somebody else as well. So, but beginning with one that has come in advance. How to invoke feminine energy. This is asked by Radhe Shyam on Instagram. So here's what's beautiful about feminine energy. If we stop pushing it away, it's there. It's like saying, how do you make things grow? Well, if you pretty much let them do exactly what God intended for them to do, rain happens automatically. Sun shines automatically. If we don't destroy our soil with pesticides, with fertilizers, with over-farming, with covering the dirt with cement or asphalt, things are going to grow. The word in Sanskrit for creation, Sanskrit is a language like French, like Spanish, like many languages, but not like English, where nouns are either masculine or feminine. The word for creation is Shrishti, feminine. The word for nature, Prakriti, feminine. The word for the energy through which creation is created and nature happens, Shakti, feminine. So that which is created is feminine. The energy through which it is created is feminine. So all we have to do is stop blocking it, and that energy is there. Watch the sunrise. Stand in the rain. Smell a flower. Sit in the dirt. Touch a blade of grass. And you're connecting with Mother Nature, Mother Earth. And it's really interesting because if you look at different languages, the word for earth, all over the place. The word for nature, all over the place. But every language that I know of speaks of them both as mother. Means they're going to use their language word for mother. But we say, in Hindi, we say Dharti Ma, Prithvi Ma. That energy of the mother. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day, International Indigenous Peoples Day. And I was just thinking about the time that we were together with Indigenous sisters and brothers back in the Kumbh Mela and having a similar conversation. And they were sharing, because they were from all over the world, South America, Central America, North America, Europe, Asia. how in all of the different languages, it was always mother. The earth was always mother. So just to be is to have feminine energy flowing through you. Unless there is a voice in your head that says, don't be a girl. Be more masculine. Be like this. We are raised, sadly, with the idea that equal means same. And so whether we're women or whether we're men, the idea of equality somehow is drilled into our heads that, yeah, women and men are equal. Women are perfectly free to act like men, dress like men, act like men. But the idea that we are actually fundamentally different and yet still equal is something that still needs a little bit of work in our society. Typically, the conversations around equality in education, in employment, in finance, in opportunity, all have to do with this idea of women's rights to basically occupy a male's role, to do it the way a man does it, that I can do it just as well as a man does, you know. What do you mean I have these few days a month where I'm different? I'll prove to you I'm not different. Of course we're different. It happens. It's natural. It's beautiful. It's still equal. It's still equal. And this illusion, this toxic illusion, that in order to be equal, women have to prove that they're as good at being men as men are, demeans women and it demeans men. Because it removes the uniqueness of masculinity. It removes the uniqueness of femininity, as though somehow a male's role is something that can just be taught and perfected. And that there isn't actually an inherent value or an inherent benefit or beauty in masculinity. There is. Just as there's an inherent value and beauty and perfection in femininity. So what was the exact verb? Invoke feminine energy is to allow yourself to be touched by, filled with, a vessel for, a channel of creation. Any aspect of it. It is to recognize that we are not separate from the earth upon which we walk, and from those upon, and with those with whom we walk upon it. Not separate from the earth and not separate from those with whom we walk upon the earth. That's the invocation of feminine energy. It's an invocation to this perfection of creation, to the Shakti through which it all happens. You know, it's really beautiful in the Hindu Sanatana Dharma tradition. All of the male aspects of the divine, Brahma as the creator, Vishnu as the sustainer, Shiva as the destroyer or dissolver, all of them have a critical, non-negotiable, feminine aspect. They use the word counterpart. I'm not sure I love the word, but in any case, we'll use it for lack of a better word at the moment. But there is a feminine aspect that is just as critical to the creation, to the sustenance, to the dissolution. They go together. That awareness that they are part of one whole. So if you're looking to invoke feminine energy, stop pushing it away. First, love it, revere it, celebrate it in the world around you, and then slowly start to discover it in you. Because even those in male bodies, of course, can experience, invoke, feel, be channels for feminine energy. I was being interviewed once many years ago for a book on female spiritual leaders in India. And she was asking me about my guru, Pujya Swamiji, and the idea of this very, very renowned male guru with not only women disciples, but women disciples whom he was really not just creating space for, but pushing forward. And she said, I guess anyway, Swamiji's kind of genderless. And I said, no. I said, he's not genderless. He's genderful. Genderful. There's full-on masculinity and there's full-on femininity. And there's full-on everything in between. It's not genderless. It's not I become neither. It's I become all. There's a beautiful aspect, a divine embodiment, Ardh Narishwar, which is this embodiment of Nadi, the feminine, and Ishwar, the masculine. And in the artistic depictions, you see them weaving together as one truly inseparable from the other. And there are just gorgeous, gorgeous artistic representations of this to remind us, oh yeah. So to invoke it, we allow it, we celebrate it, we honor it around us and in us. We just celebrated Navaratri, which are these sacred, glorious 9 days dedicated to the Divine Mother, the Goddess, in all of her forms. And we are great worshipers of the Mother Goddess. And then we are great forgetters of the fact that that Goddess lives in our daughters, in our sisters, in our wives, in our mothers, in the women and the girls in our societies. It's almost like with as much vigor as we worship the goddess in the temple, with that same vigor we forget that she's actually not only in the temple, but she's everywhere. And she's in every tree, and she's in every drop of water, and she's in every blade of grass. And so we need to bring that vigor, that energy, that invocation, not only to our Durga mantras in temples, not only during certain holidays, but every minute, every moment, every day. Beautiful question, thank you. Other questions that anyone here has? Yes, of course, please. Yes, you. Wonderful. Just share your name and where you're from and your question.
Namaste, Sadhviji. My wife, Diane, and I, Brian, are from the United States. So I've heard you speak before about moving from fear to trust, and the bridge is faith. I seem to be stuck on this bridge. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how we can get further across into the world of trust?
You're stuck because faith isn't bringing you to trust, or because you're having trouble anchoring in faith?
More in anchoring in faith.
Okay. Faith is perhaps one of the most precious aspects of our lives. And when I say precious, I really mean it like that in terms of its inherent value in our life. Its inherent worthiness in not just being there, but actually in helping us go where we want to go, achieve what we want to achieve. But it's really hard, and it's especially really hard for those of us who were not necessarily born and raised, immersed in faith. Or on the flip side, those of us who were born and raised, immersed in faith, but a faith that we have since left for a whole variety of reasons. And so there's a bit of an allergy to faith sometimes. The greatest obstacle to anchoring in faith that I have seen is this, I call it kind of the Santa Claus illusion. Especially in the West, a lot of us have grown up with this idea of God, sort of as Santa Claus, where if you're good, you're going to get all sorts of good things. And if you're not good, well, then you better watch out, because he knows, like, if you've been good or not. And, then Christmas is going to come and go and you won't get what you wanted. And a lot of us raised in the Judeo-Christian traditions have this concept of God as the bestower of rewards and punishments. We're good, we get the rewards. We're not good, we get the punishments. And so when we are good, when by every measure we look at our lives, we look at our actions, and we feel really like, okay, yeah, I'm still human, but I'm a good human. And yeah, sometimes I get angry, but like in general, certainly comparatively to others, I'm honest, I'm compassionate, I'm good, I serve, I do the right things, I don't tell lies, I donate to charity, and yet, where are those things that I was supposed to get? Where are these fruits of my goodness? And I think of this as the Santa Claus illusion because it fits the Santa Claus story so perfectly. If you're good, come Christmas morning, you're going to have a pile of toys. You're not good, you won't. But that's not actually how God works. It's not how the universe works. And the core reason behind it is that the ultimate goal of why we've taken birth, the ultimate agenda that God or the universe or source has for us, has nothing to do with how many gifts are under our tree, how much we accumulate. And it has to do with us waking up into the truth of who we are. And so the obstacle to faith for so many is, I had faith. I did X, Y, and Z. And yet, here are the bad things that happened. Or here are the good things that didn't happen, that I really wanted to happen, and these bad things that I really didn't want to happen. And we equate somehow what seems like the malfunctioning of the divine source into it meaning that there's no point. And this, I think, is one of the greatest obstacles. And it's where it's so important to realize, I always say God is not a vending machine. The universe isn't a vending machine. It's not, you put in your money and you push the button and you get what you want. We're getting that which we need to take our next step closer to the divine. And sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it feels good, sometimes it doesn't feel good. But to be able to have faith, even when things don't feel good, is what's called upon for us. And that's what faith is the awareness that there is a perfection in the universe. There is a capital P planner of a capital P plan, even if that plan isn't what I would want it to be. Even if I wish the planner would hand over the job to me because I could do it better, we think. Faith is saying, I just don't have a big enough picture. The other way that I love to think about this is if you go to museums, big, fancy, nice museums, they'll always have like a marker on the ground, a piece of tape or something on the ground, or a bench, at the distance from which we are meant to stand or sit to see the painting. And that's very scientifically figured out, because if you're too close, it's not nearly as beautiful. You actually have to have the distance to be able to really behold the beauty. And so these museums make sure that the bench is at exactly the right place. The mark on the floor is exactly the right place. And this is a big part of faith also, because when things seem not to make sense, a lot of times it's just because we don't have a good enough perspective. We're not able to step far enough back. We just celebrated Dashera, which was the day when Ram vanquished the demon king Ravan, and we're just about to celebrate Diwali, the day that Ram came back to Ayodhya after the war. And I mention it because in the Ramayana is a beautiful story. I won't go into all of it right now, but maybe we'll take it up in coming days. But it's a story that I love specifically about faith, because when you take something in just a tiny intersection of time and space, what you see is something that seems to defy goodness. It defies logic. You've got Ram, who is seen as God. I mean, we say Bhagwan Ram. But even if you don't worship him as God, he is the embodiment of goodness. His name literally Maryada Purush, the embodiment of all of that, which is exactly the right way of behaving. Krishna's a little bit naughty, he's mischievous, he steals the butter, he does this. Krishna's stories are all about mischief. Ram's stories are all about Dharma, goodness. You want to learn how to be a father, a son, a brother, a husband, a king. Like, the Ramayana is your guidebook. On the day that he is meant to be coronated as king, not only does he not get coronated, but he actually gets sent off into exile for 14 years. And it's one of these moments of what kind of scripture is this? You've got God on earth, the best king ever on the planet, and you're going to permit this injustice to happen? And then you're going to send him off through no fault of his own. It wasn't due to anything he had done. It was a very long story having nothing to do with his mistakes or his wrongness or him deserving something bad. But it's a fantastic story, because if you can step back from the tapestry enough, you actually go back to even before Bhagwan Ram was born. And the story through which his father finally got his sons, but a critical part of it required that his father was going to die of a broken heart due to the loss of his son. It was written before he was born. His dad had to die of a broken heart due to losing him. So he can't die because he's got a lot of work left to do. So he had to just be sent off in enough of an awful way for a long enough period of time that his father dies of a broken heart. Remembering in his final moments the story with a young man named Shravan Kumar. Again, it's a different story, I won't go into it. But in his final moments, he's not calling out, oh my Ram, I can't believe this happened. In his final moments, he's remembering Shravan Kumar. It's all making sense. His father has gotten far enough back to understand. But as readers of the story, if you don't pay attention to the chronology, Or you forget. Sometimes it happens, you forget a seemingly not very important scene in the beginning of a movie or a book or a TV show. If you aren't able to draw the thread between them, then it doesn't make sense. So to me, faith requires the awareness that if I can't understand it, if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't feel right, it's because I'm not able to stand back far enough. And so faith is just that. It doesn't feel like a leap so much as a drop. Just like my felt sense experience isn't that I'm leaping in faith, but that I'm dropping inside into the heart, into the self of, okay, there's a bigger picture here and I can't see it. So try those on when you find yourself on the bridge. See if it can help you take some more steps forward. Yes, of course. Of course.
Swamiji. Why and how tight grip on brahmacharya the Gen Z of India should have to beat the Gen Z of USA? Also...
Wait, I'm so sorry. Can you say that again? Why and how?
Tight grip on brahmacharya the Gen Z of India should have to beat the Gen Z of USA. And also, if I have the liberty to ask you, how to be as masculine as possible.
For the Gen Z of India to accomplish anything, let's leave beating Gen Zs or any Gen of any other country aside for a moment. For the youth of India to accomplish and achieve anything, they have to be anchored and grounded in their culture and their roots. If in their mind, सोते हुए जगते हुए वो अमेरिका के बारे में सोच रहे हैं तो अपने आप हट गए, पहले से हट गए. The culture of India is a culture of oneness. It's a culture of togetherness. It's a culture of cooperation rather than a culture of competition. Look at COVID. India manufactures vaccinations, and what is the first thing that Prime Minister Modi does? He sends them to other countries. That wasn't an act of diplomacy, that was an act of Dharma. That was coming from him as a dharmic leader much more than him as a diplomat. We've got vaccinations, we've got doses, other people need them, rather than hoarding them in fear. Okay, oh my God, what if we need more later? The Dharma is a Dharma of sharing and giving. It's a Dharma that feeds first and eats second. I cannot tell you the number of times I have been in some home, in some city of some country around the world. I've watched it happen hundreds of times. There for some spiritual event, we go to the event, we come back to the home. The women of the home cook and they feed the saints, the religious leaders. Then they feed the other guests. Last, everybody's eaten. And the woman whose house it is, either alone or maybe with her daughter or her daughter-in-law, finally, everybody's eaten and they've gone to sleep if it was an evening program, or they've left if it was a morning program. Finally, they take the little bit that's left onto a plate to sit down and finally eat something. And the doorbell rings. And it's somebody coming to see one of the saints who was late in arriving. What's the first thing these women do? Oh, you're just in time for dinner. You're just in time for lunch. And जो थोड़ा सा बचे हुए हैं, जो ताली अभी भी लगाया उनको पकड़ाते हैं. This is Indian culture. It's not a culture of how do we beat them. It's a culture of how do we, using what we have, join together with this planet. Because the lines that separate our countries are imaginary and invisible and arbitrary. The air is one, the water is one, the soil is one, climate change is one. COVID showed us viruses are one. If India's going to lead in the world, which it absolutely has the capacity for, the ability for, I really hope it does, because the teachings of India are actually what our world needs. This is what I spend my life doing, is trying to bring teachings from here to people in the West where we're suffering. If India's going to be this Dharma guru that we talk about, it's not about how do we clobber you. It's about how do we connect, how do we show you a different way of living in which we come together. So ये अमेरिकन की जेनजी के बारे में वो सपना आप छोड़ो, ये तो पहले से हट गए. आप ऐसे सोचते रहो कि भारत की जेनजी भारतीय संस्कृति को लेकर पूरा विश्व को दिखा दे. हराने नहीं, दिखाना है कि धर्म क्या होता है, सफलता क्या होता है. What is real success? It's not I eat caviar while you starve. Success is I share. And we eat together. That's what we need your generation to work on. तो सपना को थोड़ा सा बड़ा लेना पड़ेगा. ठीक है? And your second question, last, about bringing more masculinity. It's really the same. It's the same. We have all of that in us. Prakriti Purush. The masculine aspect of us, if you're looking at it from a very deep spiritual level, where we're saying Shrishti, Prakriti, Shakti, is that which is created, the energy of it. Purush is that which never changes. Never changes. That aspect, every time we meditate, every time we become still, every time we touch the place in us that is pure awareness and consciousness, unchanging, undivided, that's the Purush in us. Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Of course you can, of course, sure. No rule that you have to memorize it before you get here.
I read it somewhere, and I feel the same way. The Creator had a form before that He created anything. I think I read it, this is Parabrahman. And it was written that Parabrahman is neither feminine nor masculine. That is unity and nothingness. And when it decided to create, then creation began. We say that the energy of creation is Shakti energy. And Shakti energy is feminine energy. So should the Creator be Shakti rather than Shiva or Brahman? And because the Creator decides to create with Shakti energy. And could you explain to me the difference of Shaktism and Shivaism, please?
Sure, okay.
Thank you.
So this is an entire course. I mean, this is the sort of thing that people do a PhD in. So we're going to try to do justice to ancient and incredibly vast and deep traditions that include Vedanta, Advaita, dualism, creation, all of that in 2-3 minutes. So I'm just laying the groundwork here that we're literally taking entire courses and philosophy books and doing it quickly. Okay. So, as I was just explaining to the gentleman who just asked the question before you, we speak about Prakriti and Purush. Now, again, this is when you start to bring English words to it, and when you start to try to sum it up in 30 seconds, it's not justice. Nonetheless, the masculine energy, what is referred to as Purush, is that which is eternal, unchanging. The energy through which we have all of these aspects, we say creation, sustenance, dissolution. The energy through which any of that happens is a feminine energy. Brahma is the divine aspect of creation. But without Shakti, creation cannot happen. Vishnu, divine energy of sustenance. That's why Vishnu has avatars. Because in order to sustain, he literally comes onto earth in different forms. You can go to see all of the different 24 forms of Vishnu just next to where we do the Havan ceremony every day. But in order to sustain, he has Shakti. Shiva, in order to dissolve, destroy, he has Shakti. Now, the Shakti energy is an energy, it's not only of creation, it's an energy also of sustenance, it's an energy also of dissolution. It is the energy through which all of that which is changing happens. Mother Nature changes, we have seasons. All of that which is created by its nature, it changes and it perishes. Okay. The energy of Purush, which again, all of these energies are in both of us. It's not men, women. That's why I was speaking about the Ardnadishwar, that we all have this energy of both, Nadi and Ishwar. Nadi is Shakti, women, feminine energy. The energy of Purush is that energy that is eternal, stable, unchanging. Which is why without Shakti, nothing would happen. Now, you said the difference between Shakti and Shaivism. Well, Shaivism is actually a very specific lineage within Sanatana Dharma, which is those who worship Shiva. Vaishnavism is those who worship Krishna, or Vishnu's avatars rather. Those who worship Shakti are worshiping just that feminine energy in all of her forms. The destructive form, the creative form, the nourishing form, the fierce form. This is what's so beautiful about Sanatana Dharma, is it says you want to worship the divine in Shiva, beautiful. You want to worship the divine in Krishna, in Ram, beautiful. You want to worship it in the Divine Mother, Durga, Kali, Saraswati, Lakshmi, beautiful. You want to worship the divine, nameless, formless, Nirgun Brahman, beautiful. You know, lastly, just in conclusion, one of the, to me, most beautiful aspects of Shiva is that Shiva's typically worshipped in 3 different ways, or 3 different forms rather. One form is what we have in the middle of our Ganga. He's meditating. here, just above Parmarth Niketan, is the Nilkand Mahadev Mandir. It's the temple to which he came after drinking poison so that nectar of immortality could emerge. Another story that I won't go into, but a beautiful story. And in that moment of literally having poison in him, he came to the Himalayas and he meditated. So we have this beautiful image of him meditating. He meditates on Kailash. He meditates here. This beautiful image. We have several of them around the ashram. Then you have the image of Shiva as Nataraj. Right? You've probably seen these beautiful images of him. Nataraj Asan, if you do yoga, right? Where the leg is behind the head. It's a depiction of this image of Shiva, and he's dancing. He's got the dambru in his hands. He's dancing. He is the Lord of dance, of yoga. And then we have the Shivling, where we do Abhishek Puja, you must have seen. You know, it's this cylindrical shape. People offer water, they offer milk, they offer flowers. And that is the symbol for just the infinite presence. And I love it because when you read and study and listen to the stories of Shankar Bhagwan's life, it's not like, oh, I was a young boy, then I was a middle-aged guy, then I was an old man, and these are my 3 forms, and here's how I move chronologically. They're not chronological. They're just different aspects of him. And what it reminds us is when we worship him, that we are meant to embody all of these 3 aspects simultaneously. Our meditation should not be dull. Our meditation should have the flavor of the presence of yoga, action, right? We always say meditation in action, prayer in action. It means, yeah, I'm a meditator, and I act, I serve. It's not, oh yeah, you people do all of that, I'm just going to meditate. In my meditation, there is action, there is dance, there is yoga, there is movement. In my action and my movement, there is meditation. So yes, I'm serving, I'm doing, but I'm doing it with an internal experience of meditating. It's the being while doing situation, right? You know, people say, well, are we human beings or human doings? I grew up in LA where the big excuse if you wanted to just spend the day at the beach instead of doing anything else was, well, I mean, I'm a human being, not a human doing, and so I'm going to spend the day being more and doing less. The teaching is be while doing, do while being. Meditation in action, action in meditation. And in both, we remember, oh yeah, ultimately, aham brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am the supreme reality. The formless. Nirgun. No gunas, no forms, no characteristics, no nothing. I am that. And I am one with the Creator and one with the creation. Yes. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to all of our family joining us from all over the world. And I look so forward to being together tomorrow.
What an incredibly beautiful satsang, and what a blessing it is to have Sadhviji sharing her light, her wisdom, her love with us. So thank you for that. Just a few things before we go. If you did not have your question answered this evening, we have papers at the back where you can write your question down, and they will be answered in a future satsang. Because the questions are so very important. They are what satsang is about. So please take Sadhviji's advice about there's no question that if it's important to you, should be answered. So you still have an opportunity if you're not going to be with us, or if you're a little shy and would just prefer to write your question down. We also have on the back table some ways to connect. There's a card from Sadhviji and it has all of her information, and please feel free to take one of those. To have for satsang, if you are interested in revisiting some of the most beautiful teachings we have a highly curated playlist of our most beautiful teachings in Sadhviji's podcast called Ask Sadhviji. It's on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and it's the teachings that are really poignant that have been curated for your consumption. So please feel free to listen, and we look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow or sometime soon.